All right. Welcome back to the Real Estate Locker Room Show, folks. I'm your host, John Carney, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to tune into the show. I'm truly grateful for all you return listeners out there. Your support is what makes this podcast successful, and I know that your time is valuable, and I really do appreciate you carving out some of it to spend with us by tuning into the Real Estate Locker Room Show. If this is your first time listening, welcome, great big welcome. We're going to tee up we've got a good one in store for you today. You know, the goal here is to deliver actionable advice on how to elevate your real estate investing game today. You know, to continue to raise the bar in your specific area of real estate in the industry, whether you're an expert assisting others or whether you're getting into your own investments, whatever that is, welcome to the show that believes that real estate is a team sport. So today is episode number 6, and our special guest is Scott Bossman, and we're going to talk about land investing. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Thanks, John. I appreciate being here.
Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to shed some light on investing in raw land. And for all the listeners out there that have been with us all the way back in October of 2017, we had another land investor by the name of Mark Podolsky, and Scott works alongside Mark. He was a student of Mark's. He's been able to replace his income and go out on his own. He's living the dream. So we're stoked that you're here as the student to shed some light on the world of investing in raw land deals. So that's going to be cool. But let's stretch out a little bit. What do you say?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right. Quick stretching question to kind of get the juices flowing. This show, you know, the premise behind this, explore the intersection of competitive real estate investing, competitive sports, and see if we can't distill, you know, some of the lessons learned and look at some of the, you know, translations here between, you know, competitive athletes and entrepreneurs who go into the real estate game and what lessons we can learn about their habits and the way they structure their day and how they go about elevating their level of success in real estate. So do you have a favorite athlete or a favorite, you know, sport that you play now that's inspired you? And how do you take those lessons and apply them to your day to day?
Sure. So, well, I played a lot of sports growing up. I was a 3-sport athlete, most of the way through junior high, part of the way through high school. My favorite team, I grew up in South Dakota, so we get to pick our teams there. So I inherited being a Chicago Cubs fan from my grandpa. So it was a painful first 38 years of my life till they won the World Series. But my favorite player, I think, of all time is Ryne Sandberg, second baseman of the Chicago Cubs. When I was growing up, I just really looked up to him a lot. And yeah, so I think it's interesting because I play some intramural basketball now. Otherwise, I'm not doing anything competitively. I try to work out, you know, 5 days a week. I have a Peloton. We have a Peloton, and we have a bunch of people in the Peloton or in the Land Geek community that are on Peloton. So we all get on and compete against each other, which is kind of fun. And then I'll do some, you know, core strengthening and that type of thing. But it's interesting because land investing, we say it all the time, John, is a team sport. And that's the great thing about it is you can take so many aspects of this business and have a team of people working for you. And I like to think of myself as my head coach of my land business. And we can talk a little bit more about that if you want to. But you know, land investing, I think it aligns really well with the sports mentality because if you need discipline and you need consistency to create a habit. And there are some really simple things in our business that you can do just in a disciplined fashion that are really going to pay off in spades later. So you equate that to, you know, doing a throwing workout for a baseball player or whatever. Down the road, they're going to see results. Same thing with land investing. If you do the things that we teach you to do and you're just disciplined about it, you're going to get deal flow, you're going to get buys, you're going to get sales.
Thanks for sharing that. So, I mean, let's talk about Mark's system in your journey. I mean, do you still work? You were a physical therapist, correct?
Yeah, I'm a physical therapist. So in that sense, I think of myself as kind of a health coach because I'm always trying to coach people along and get them better, right? But I was a physical therapist for, I don't know, 17 years before I found Mark. I just kind of woke up one day and realized I wasn't where I wanted to be in life. I mean, I was successful in my profession. Um, I got some specialty degrees. I had worked in a number of different environments, but with with a wife and a family of four boys, it's honestly hard to get ahead in this world, right? So I woke up one day and just thought, man, I'm working really hard. I'm working 50 hours a week. What can I do to increase the value of my time and energy and maybe bring some passive income into my life? So I went on kind of a self-discover, you hear this from people a lot. They go on a journey of self-discovery, try to figure out what they want to do. So I went from Dave Ramsey to every Rich Dad Poor Dad book there was to thinking I was going to go into multifamily housing. My wife and I formed an LLC. We were on the verge of buying a duplex, and I heard Mark Podolsky on a podcast. I joke with him because I saw the title of the podcast and thought, that sounds absolutely boring. I'm not going to listen to it. And for whatever reason, 3 weeks later, I went back and listened to it. And I'm forever glad I did, because it's a business model that really fits well with me and my mentality. It makes such good sense, and I'm very logical, analytical thinker. Heard him that day, and we got started with the community.
I remember my conversation with Mark real clearly, and then I joined the community on Facebook, and I see the deal flow that goes through.
Yeah.
And this is a young podcast. We speak to a lot of people at a lot of different levels, different niches in real estate, and the supporting, members of your team that help anyone be successful. I'm really grateful that we have a student of Mark's, and now you work with him as a coach as well. And it's just further proof, if anyone was skeptical, that there are systems out there that, like you said, if you follow the outline with a little bit of discipline with your time and energy, you're going to get results. So let's talk about your journey from, subscribing to Mark's course to where you are today, because I think it's an awesome journey, and people will be interested in listening.
Yeah, it gives me chills to think about it, because I don't know, I've come a long ways in 5 years, 4.5 years. I simply, I took a chance in ordering, a product online from Mark Podolsky, the Land Geek, who I'd never heard of in my entire life, right? It just made good sense to me. I read some testimonials. I took a chance, talked to my wife about it. She says, this sounds a little weird, but let's go ahead and try it. And I got what's called Mark's investor toolkit. And I'm very disciplined. When I set my mind on something, I really, really want to succeed. So this started out as a true side hustle for me. I was working 50 hours a week. So I was carving time out of my schedule. I was getting up at 5 a.m. I was staying up late at night, and I was just trying to dedicate a couple hours every day to figuring this system out. And in addition to the tools that Mark gave me and a lot of research that I did online, I think 6 weeks after I started the training, we bought our first property for $700. Now, a lot of people think, what kind of property are you buying for $700? But in the United States, you can buy 5-acre properties for $1,000. You can buy, this was a 2.5-acre property. I bought a 2.5-acre property for $700. I followed Mark's recipe. He said, market that thing on Craigslist. So I started marketing that thing on Craigslist, and I sold it 2 weeks later for $2,800. So the proof of concept was there. And I'm a physical therapist, right? Like, who would have ever thought as a physical therapist, I'd be able to do this? But what we find in our community is, it's such a diverse community. After that point in time, I met Mark. I talked to him on the phone. I met him at a conference, and we decided to go all in with some one-on-one coaching, which was the best investment of my life, because I was able to replace my income as a physical therapist in 2 years with land investing, and I was able to quit my job in a little over 3 years. So it's it's completely changed our lives.
If you don't mind, I'd like to circle into like the transition time frame for a moment. Let's talk about the time investment, right? I'd like to be real with people that when you're if you're trying to replace your income, or you're just making a pivot into whatever sector of real estate you're attracted to, you're a startup, right? So talk about the startup process for you in time. So, you were working full time and you had X amount of hours a week, which then became X hours a month, and following a system. How long did it take before you started seeing results? Like the type of results where you said, hey, this is real money. And now I can drop, like I use the example, very fortunate that I have the ability to take my children to school, and I work close enough from home, and I'm usually flexible enough that I could jump in and pick them up if there was an emergency, right? But that's part of the lifestyle I designed. So how did that work for you?
Yeah, I really had to carve out the time, but I remember Mark telling me, Scott, if you have 10 hours a week, you can make this work. So that's really what I tried to do. Now, I probably did a little more than that. I was probably doing maybe 15 hours a week. But with 15 hours a week, we were able to buy and sell 30 properties our first year in this business. Now, 15 of those were cash deals. Now, these cash deals, they maybe netted me anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 a piece, but still, that's a big chunk of money for a physical therapist, right? And so you can start paying off some bills. Well, we took that money and we redeployed it into our business and our training and that type of thing. But we did pay some bills as well that first month, medical bills. The great thing about this business is it's scalable. So ideally, it's not a passive income model initially because you have to work really hard. But what happens over time is, your 10 to 15 hours a week should start decreasing and your income should start increasing. And that's exactly what has happened. So we went from 30 properties our first year to 60 properties our second year. So things are scaling and we're selling more and more properties every year. But with that, you start to automate and delegate and eliminate. And so much of that can be done today that you do form that team to help you in your business. So you form your business, you take one segment of that and you train and delegate, or maybe even automate, and then you move on to the next one, and you move on to the next one, and you move on to the next one. And that's what we've done the last few years. So, I still probably work maybe 10 hours a week in my land business, but it's 10 hours a week. I used to work 50 as a PT, and I have a lot of people helping me. Not a lot of people, a few people helping me, honestly.
I've got a couple of follow-on questions to that. Don't let me forget to ask you, who I imagine that they're not direct employees. We'll tackle this one first. Your team, like not direct employees, but people that you collaborate with, or are they like outsourced companies but you have someone in a company? Like, for example, I'm guessing, but I don't know, that you send out mailers, or you have a website that captures people. So I mean, like, talk about, broad strokes. How many people, who's your first hire in your new startup?
Yeah, so with land investing, we acquire properties via direct mailings. So there is a mailing component. We give them a true offer on their property. And typically the people that are selling to us are distressed, so to speak. They may have back taxes. They maybe have owned the land for 30 years and they don't know how to get rid of it. And we show up in their mailbox as a solution for that. So the deals come with mailing. The mailing provides our deal flow. We make money we make money with the mailings, honestly. So you need a very tuned in system for mailing. We set a target of mailing 100 offers a week. Well, the first part of that is you need a list, and there are all different ways of getting a list of people to mail to in this business. But basically you have to get a list, and then you have to scrub that really big list down to certain attributes that you need for mailing. So the first thing that I ever outsourced was list scrubbing. And I did that through Upwork and hired a VA in the Philippines that still helps me today with list scrubbing and compiling my list. After you compile the list, you have to price it and you have to mail it. We have software that helps us automate our mailings. So I can literally send out 200 letters at the click of a button with our software. It didn't used to be that way when I started. I was stuffing envelopes by hand, but now we have this system down. So now I have kind of a mailing manager / intake manager who does, she starts to do some of the due diligence processes on some of our deal flow and that type of thing. And it's gotten to the point where I pretty much kind of give my blessing on the deal or not, and whether or not we want to buy it. On the back end of the business, we market and sell the properties. I have a marketing manager. He's in charge of setting all the ads on Facebook and Craigslist. I'm pretty much doing all the sales still, but I need something to do at home. Otherwise I'll go crazy. So that's kind of how it pans out. But the great thing about land investing is there are all these different tasks and duties, and you can pick your biggest pain point and outsource that pretty easily, or train people to do it.
So, and then to get to that point where you start actually looking at the scale, right? We'll just say the proof of concept for somebody who's new and is going to follow this path of land investing, either listening to this podcast or multiple podcasts till this is the concept they're going to run with. I would imagine you have to do so much yourself to understand what's a good deal, what's not a good deal, right? Make a few mistakes and then have, use the guidebook that Land Geek offers and without lack of a better term, customize it. Would you say that you've got in a matter of how months, or is it days, or is it time? How much time does it really take for someone, the average person, to get in and say, boom, bingo, my time hours are going down and my revenue's going up? Maybe I already asked that.
Yeah, everybody's story I think is a little bit different, but if you just follow the math, like we have a simple equation: mail 20 offers a day. Like if you mail 20 offers a day, so we'll just say at 400 letters a week, and you can optimize your systems and processes to get to the point where you're sending out 400 mailers a week. If you're in the right market and if your pricing analysis is on, that can result in a year from now, $4,000 to $5,000 a month passive income. So it's a matter of numbers. So if you can come up with a system to help you get those numbers out there, and this is where the discipline comes in. Like if I want to stay in shape, I need to work out. Well, if I want to have deal flow, I need to mail. And that's exactly where it comes. So, but as far as like the scaling aspect of it and how long it takes, it's interesting because, we have some people in this business who've gone through one-on-one coaching, and they're honestly making over 5 figures a month passive income, but they're maybe not very efficient. They're very effective, but they're not very efficient. But then we have other people who maybe, they're bringing in over 5 figures a month passive income, and they're not doing very much. So it really comes down to the person. It comes down to your bandwidth, or your tolerance for giving things out and delegating. I wasn't very good at that initially, so I think I was a little bit slower because I'm kind of a perfectionist, and then realized I was doing too much and needed to outsource some of this stuff. So a lot of times you outsource the easier things first, and then move on to the more complex things later. And then when you do start to outsource that complex stuff, just realize you don't have to be perfect, because getting it done by somebody else is better than perfect.
I agree with that for sure. So we talked about the team aspect. We know that mailing is important. How many do you ever see these deals, or is this all done with your laptop and your phone?
Yeah, so it's all done with my laptop and phone. I live in Wisconsin. We buy and sell land primarily in the western and southwestern states. We've done some deals in Northern California and Oregon as well. But the amazing thing about today is that you can get so much information online. And the other thing is, it's hard to conceptualize, but this market is absolutely vast. You go to some of these counties out west, and there are subdivisions, these kind of cookie cutter subdivisions, thousands and thousands and thousands of 5-acre parcels in one subdivision. Well, typically, if you know one of those parcels, you know them all. So you can easily hire a photographer online to walk out there, kind of get the lay of the land of one of these parcels. And then if you keep mailing in that area, you will start buying properties just down the road, half mile away, 1 mile away. You can reuse that marketing material over and over and over. The biggest thing with these properties is that we have to make sure that, you know, our due diligence information is correct. So we're looking carefully at chain of title, we're looking at back taxes or liens, that type of thing. But again, those are things that I can do here from my computer or making a phone call to certain people. So I haven't been in any of my properties out west. I have been to one property that I sold here in Wisconsin. I picked it up because I just knew it was a good deal looking at it, and went out there and did a cash transaction with a buyer. But otherwise, we're buying and selling these things from the comfort of our home, and we'll hire somebody to go out there to kind of get the lay of the land for us, if needed.
Okay, that's great. I mean, so it really is mobile once you have your discipline and your systems down. You brought something up that I think a lot of people overlook in general. I'm a big advocate of having a great title agent on your team. So do you work with local title companies? Do you do a lot of your own research on your own through county websites or city municipalities? Like how do you protect yourself against the inevitably strange title issue?
Yeah. The interesting thing, you know, so many of these deals that we do, there's been one transaction in the last 40 years. And the you know, looking at the chain of title and doing your due diligence is really simple. So we self-close a lot of these deals. You know, you have to ask yourself what your risk tolerance is with some of these deals. But you got to remember, we're buying some of these properties for a couple $100, $1,000 to $2,000. So the numbers don't make sense a lot of times to use a title company for those lower value properties. Now, we do use title companies for the higher value properties. But we do have people on our team as well. You know, I'm not confident in my ability to decipher chain of title all the time, especially if there have been 15 transactions in the last 20 years and a couple of them look goofy. So we have a gentleman on our team. He's a paralegal. He's got significant real estate experience and access to a lot of title information that kind of does deal reviews for us, and helps us in that regard. But the higher value deals, we are using title companies, and typically we use title companies in the area of where the land is.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So can you mind just doing a quick summary? We've covered a ton of information, and before we kind of wind it down and get into, you know, our the final questions, give us the pitch, because I think it's a really great way to be in the real estate business. You're using real estate as a vehicle, and you tell me, what's the saying? There's you know, you don't have to fix anything, right?
Yeah. So a common saying is that there are no land emergencies, right? I'm not waking up at 3 a.m. because of a land problem or somebody calling me because of a land problem. Mark's, you know, mantra: no tenants, no termites, no toilets, no rodents, rats, rehabs, that type of thing, right? So you're investing in real estate and you're turning around and selling it for either a cash profit or on terms. And that's the other great thing about our business, is that the owner financing these properties can create a very significant passive income stream for you. While you're owner financing it, while I'm owner financing property, it is my asset. And if that person, for whatever reason, defaults, it's right in our, you know, it's stipulated right in our paperwork that we're able to take that property back and resell it. So these are our assets, and we sit on them for a long time. I mean, it could be 4 years, could be 8 years, could be 10 years, but we sit on them, and we have a portfolio in that regard. But really, you know, to be able to shuffle paper and buy and sell property online without having to do any maintenance is pretty amazing. So I would just recommend, you know, if anybody's interested in generating some passive income, and, you know, the ideal goal is to get to the point in our community, the ideal goal is to get to the point where you're bringing in over 5 figures a month passive income with land. And that's happened with so many people in our community. And we've had people quit their jobs and able to stay at home. And we had one couple that went through the program last year. They sold 100 properties their first year. She's also a physical therapist. So it's just one of these things that I think anybody can do it, especially, if a physical therapist can do this, anybody can do it. And if you have the discipline and the time to learn how to do it, you're going to start doing deals pretty quickly. And it's changing a lot of lives for people.
It's fantastic. And one other final question about this is that we have international subscribers to the Real Estate Locker Room show. In anywhere in the world, could you be anywhere in the world and do this?
Yeah. So that's the other really neat thing is, you really can work wherever and whenever and with whoever you want. So we have people, U.S. citizens, U.S. students who maybe go abroad for a year and they still work their land business. We have a guy living in an RV doing his land business full time. We had a guy living in a van doing the business full time. But now we do have some international clients. We have a woman in Australia who's land investing in the United States. I just spoke to a gentleman last night. He's in Austria, and he's going through our flight school training program right now, which is kind of it's more of an execution program and gets people going really quickly. But he just sold his first 2 properties, and he's doing it from Austria. So he's buying and selling property. I think it was in Arizona. So you can do this now. As far as tax implications for international people and that type of thing, I don't know how that works. We always tell them that's kind of on them to figure that out. But he's buying and selling property in the United States, and we have multiple people doing it.
Pay your taxes, folks, or hire a great accountant.
Yes, exactly.
James Wise told me he hopes and prays that my accountant charges me a lot of money. I'm getting good advice. And correct. But that's it. I mean, that's a fantastic way. It checks all the boxes for anyone that wants to pivot or increase their cash flow or come up with a designing your own life. So Scott, I like to wind this up with some final thoughts. And are there any books that you've read recently that you suggest people pick up, or any podcasts you listen to that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I read a book by Rory Vaden called Take the Stairs. It's a little bit older book, but and maybe you've spoken about it on this show, but it's a really great book about how, and it really applies to the athlete mindset as well, I think, because it's not necessarily real estate based, it's more action based. A lot of people believe in the universe, right? And the universe causing changes. Well, this is more about universe action. So you need to act to cause changes in your life. And one of the great quotes from that book, and it probably came from somewhere else, but it's that success isn't guaranteed, right? You don't own success, you have to rent it. So every day you have to pay the rent. And put in the work to get that success. So I read that book recently. I loved it. I think it's very applicable to a real estate investing business. I would also recommend for anybody out there, read Dirt Rich by Mark Podolsky. It tells you his land investing business, or it tells you his land investing story. And it's a really cool book.
Fantastic. Is there we're always looking for a pro tip, just one thing that someone could action in their business or in their life that'll help them kind of make that incremental change for the better?
A pro tip. Well, something I never thought I would do, but I'm doing now is I'm journaling in the mornings. So I have a journal, and I spend just maybe 10 minutes on it. There's a gratitude section. There's a to-do list section. And then at the end of the day, you give yourself a score. There's a health and wellness section. There's a family section. So it's kind of a cool journal. And so I've been doing that recently, the last year, kind of off and on, but I'm getting more consistent with it. And I don't know, I feel like I'm doing better in life in that regard. Keeping track of some of these things and kind of self-scoring my progress. The other tip I guess I would give is that 10 years ago, I was a person that didn't really take chances. And I'm a firm believer now that in order to move forward and experience that success that we talked about, you need to feel a little discomfort with your decisions. So, a lot of people are afraid to make a big investment in something or to move forward in something that they're completely unfamiliar with. Well, that fear, in my opinion, propels you to succeed. So it's a little bit of a spin on it now. I do feel fear with some decisions, but that motivates me to succeed and not let myself fail. So that's something I've kind of learned over the last 5 to 10 years.
There's a fear, like, so if you don't mind me asking, it's interesting. Fear-based decision making. I don't even know. I Googled that recently and wasn't getting where I wanted to go. It's more about, I think, abundance versus scarcity. Yes. And where that fear metric travels in between the two. What are your thoughts on that? It's completely off topic, but
no, I agree. We talk about the abundance mentality a lot within our community. And maybe fear is the wrong word. I think discomfort is maybe a better word. But another great book, if anybody is interested in that type of mentality, is called Willpower Doesn't Work by Benjamin Hardy. It's just he gives you all types of strategies to kind of think and act outside the box of what is expected. And that'd be another one that kind of touches on that kind of universe action and abundance mentality and kind of feeling some discomfort to get to where you want to go.
Super cool. And that's what that's what it's all about. Feel a little bit of discomfort, folks, and you will get there a little bit faster. It right. Might not make sense, but it is the way of the world. Well, thanks again, Scott, for taking time out of your day and sharing this great success story with our audience. Where can people find you if they want to connect online or offline?
One of my great passions now is just talking about this to people because it's changed my life so significantly. So I do assist Mark in kind of some outreach stuff. So if you're interested in starting your land investing journey, I would just recommend looking up the Land Geek on YouTube, go to thelandgeek.com, join our Facebook group, and then you can schedule a call with me if you'd like at thelandgeek.com/training, and I'd be happy to speak to anybody who's interested.
There you have it, folks. I truly hope you picked up some actionable advice that you can apply right now today from Scott Bossman. Make sure to check out the Real Estate Locker Room show online, wherever you tune into this podcast. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. The mission here is to help you elevate your real estate game. If you like what this show is all about, I'd be grateful if you'd give us a star rating, a favorable star rating, and leave a comment, because that truly is the currency where we're able to share stories like Scott's and some of our other guests online. It has to do with how you think we're doing. Let us know. And the post-game report, show notes, and links to this show and also to Scott will be available on my website. That's johncarneyonline.com/podcast. And this is EP 86. So we're up to episode 86. Thanks, everybody. And thank you, Scott. Remember to stay focused on your goals, have fun, and stay in the game. And until next time, work hard, play hard, and raise the bar. And, have a great day, Scott. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, John. I appreciate it.
Hey, I got a quick question.